Hello, I'm Coach Andy, and this is my Unconditional Boundaries Part 1 video. I wanted to make a video series about what I call unconditional boundaries because I think there's um, some ways that people use boundaries that don't give them what they're looking for, that don't help them achieve the goals they're looking to achieve. And if the goal you're looking to achieve is to control the other people in your life, that's part of the problem. Um, First of all, let me start with explaining that there are two parts to that word unconditional boundaries. And many people think, how can you have boundaries and be unconditional? Don't they sound kind of opposite? Unconditional means you don't care what happens. And boundaries mean you want to keep people out or people in. So how can those work the same? Well, let me explain what I mean by that. Unconditional boundaries means, first of all, you have boundaries no matter what happens, no matter who you're talking to. The boundaries don't change just because you're talking to your wife or your mom or your brother or your son or your husband. It doesn't, your boundaries don't change because you're talking to a certain person who maybe doesn't fit the description of your boundaries. And the boundaries don't change just because you have a judgment or a thought about that person or type of person. Boundaries exist in all situations. And if something comes up in a situation that that fits that boundary, then the decisions you've made around that boundary also fit, no matter who's on the other side of the conversation or what situation you're in. That's what I mean by unconditional. And the second part of unconditional is boundaries allow you to be involved with, connect with, relate to, and interact with everybody, including and especially those people who trigger you in some fashion. Boundaries let you talk to people and interact with people that would normally trigger a fear response or some kind of danger response. Many people have triggering reactions to certain kinds of people, certain types of personalities, certain um, races and religions. I know lots of people who are triggered by the Catholic faith. I'm Catholic, so I see a lot of those triggers. And I know a lot of people who are triggered by strong, confident men. A lot of men and women who are triggered by strong, confident men. I know a lot of people who are triggered by loud voices, anger, whether it's directed at me or not, or at you or not. I know a lot of people who are triggered by those things. Unconditional boundaries allow you to interact in those situations where you might be triggered in safety and in security, in confidence. You can trust in your reactions with unconditional boundaries. That is the point of boundaries, is to give you a predetermined set of reactions that are not decided in the moment by your emotions. They're decided at a previous time when your triggers aren't activated, when your emotions aren't involved, when you get to choose what you want to do. And that's the point of unconditional boundaries. It allows you to unconditionally interact with anybody you want for any reason. And that's what I want. That's what I want for you, for all of you. So let me give you another concept. There's two in this video that I wanted to talk about. One is the concept of unconditional, and two is the concept of boundaries. Boundaries are not what many people think they are. Boundaries are not barriers. Boundaries are not the walls we put up to stop damage from coming in to hurt us, to stop dangerous situations from coming into our lives. Boundaries don't stop those things. What boundaries do is they give us a set of reactions when those things start to happen or when we assume those things might happen. 98% of the time, we react in fear to something 2, 3, 5 steps before it even happens. I might respond to a man with a loud, angry voice before he ever has a chance to say anything to me or to harm me or to get physical with me. He has the potential to hurt me. He has, or at least that's the fear. The fear is he's going to hurt me, perhaps even kill me. That's the fear. And if I react in fear to him when I hear his loud, angry voice, then I don't have to be in danger of him ever hurting me. But if I have boundaries around that, if I have boundaries that say if he makes a threatening gesture, a threatening move, or a threatening word towards me, I have a specific set of reactions that I trust, then I don't have to fear his loud, angry voice anymore. I can interact with someone who has a loud and angry voice and perhaps even help them. Maybe my job is to serve people, and sometimes I get somebody on the phone or in my store or in my business that has a loud, angry voice, and it's difficult for me to interact with that person when really they might not even be upset at me, if they're even upset at all. Some people just have a loud, angry voice naturally. An unconditional boundary lets you interact with those people without predetermining the danger that they bring, because the boundary gives you the ability to react to the actual danger, not to the perceived danger. A lot of times our fears come from perceived danger. And as I mentioned before, we generally react 2 or 3 steps or even 5 steps before the danger even happens. If I believe that everybody with a loud, angry voice is going to hurt me, I'm going to react to everybody with a loud, angry voice. But if I have a boundary in place instead that says every time somebody comes towards me in a threatening manner, I have one of 2 or 3 reactions that I can trust. I'll move into a defensive stance. I will run away. I will ask them or tell them vocally to stop. And one of those things will always work if I trust my boundaries. And if I don't trust my boundaries, then the idea is to find a reaction that I do trust, to change my reactions, to change the conditions in my boundaries until I do trust them. The trust is in my boundaries, not in the other person. Because I promise you that loud, angry people are not the only ones that may strike you, that may hurt you, that may come at you and cause you harm. I also know that loud, angry people aren't the most common ones to do that, but they're the ones who get the reputation. A boundary we put up to help us discern what to do when we feel threatened. A barrier we put up to stop anything threatening, anything we perceive as possibly threatening, to even get close to us. We put up a barrier between ourselves and someone else or dangerous situations, what we perceive as dangerous situations, so that we can be safe. Let me give you another example. Many of us have a barrier between flying in planes, between ourselves and planes. We won't jump on a plane. We won't get on a plane because we fear not the plane. We don't even fear the plane crashing. We fear the damage we personally will take and our loved ones will take if the plane crashes. 2 steps before the danger. If we put boundaries in place that say, well, if the plane goes down, here's the reactions. The staff and pilot has specific reactions, specific training that they're supposed to do. If I trust their training, then we're good. If I trust the people that are around me, then we're good. That's a boundary. But a barrier means I won't go on the plane. If I trust my own ability, my own survival instincts, or my own training as well, then I don't have to worry if the plane goes down. I can survive. That's what boundaries do. They give us trust in ourselves instead of barriers telling us we don't trust. We put barriers up against other things that we don't trust. Boundaries let us trust anything because we don't have to trust them. We can trust ourselves and our reactions to those things. Something that's been said in our community many, many times, and Sean says that often, and he said it in the ECCP or the ECCP that many of us just took last week. A bird does not trust in the branch; he trusts in his own wings. If the branch breaks, who cares? The plane goes down, who cares? If the person tries to hit me, who cares? I trust in my reactions. I trust in my training and my abilities. And if I don't, then the barrier doesn't go up between me and that person. The barrier goes, the boundary comes up for me. I need to find a way to trust my own reactions. And that's where coaches come in. Coaches help us to find ways to trust ourselves, to find ways to find training, to become good, to learn the training we already have, to learn the understanding, the perception, the perseverance, the strength, the courage that we already have. And that allows us to connect with everybody and anybody. Suddenly, our fear of visibility, our loneliness, our fear of connection, our fear of men, our fear of women, our fear of relationships, our fear of dogs, our fear of animals, our fear of all goes away. Because I don't have to fear anything. I trust my boundaries. I trust the things that I know that I can do. So unconditional boundaries has two parts. The part is unconditional. I can connect or interact with anybody or anything as long as I trust my boundaries. And boundaries are not barriers. They don't stop things from happening. They give us a set of choices when things do. That's the message I wanted to give you guys, that you have options. There are things you can do. That boundaries do allow us a freer life, a happier life. They allow us to find more joy and more happiness. I hope you have a great day. I hope you find plenty of reasons to connect. And if you need some help with boundaries, drop me a line. Leave a comment on the video. Find me on Facebook. I believe I'm under facebook.com/the unconditional coach. Look me up. I'll try and help. Thanks a bunch.